still recovering from cleaning. Never clean, people. That's the lesson.
That's not the lesson you should be taking away from that.
Never clean your desk, because then you'll spend the next 3 weeks trying to fix everything. What is up, Big Nasty and Frank and SB Card Fan and James?
Hey,
what? Tony GR, James Reeves. James. Okay, Richard, read this comment and tell them what just happened.
John sent it to us, and I watched it, and my comment was, "Gee, George Carlin's zombie sure looks lifelike." Because he looks just like George Carlin right before he died.
Just to catch everyone up, Frank, we're going right into music. I know you love it. They're Men Without Hats, who you know from the Safety Dance. And Pop Goes the World. They are not a one-hit wonder.
That's true.
They are a two-hit wonder. They have a new single called I Love the 80s. It is so cringy and so ridiculously bad. And I think, honestly, and this is not irony, I honestly think Men Without Hats are really underrated when it comes to synth pop. Songs like Where Do the Boys Go? Living in China. I mean, they did some really good synth pop. This is just bottom of the barrel scraping awful. Yeah.
It's like, Grandpa, we can make music. Why don't you make music with us? Kind of cringy.
But Richard and James, have you heard like the last Men Without Hats album? It was really good. It wasn't this pandering, awful crap. Mm-hmm. And I agree. Moonbeam is a great track. Lose My Way is a great track from that record. Very underrated band. They have an album that was only released in Canada called Freeways, I think is what it's called, James, which is really good too. Hi, what is going on, Deslock?
Dance ruined it for me.
It's sort of played. Sort of played. Lead Paint is here. A J-Boxer made it at the beginning. Awesome. Ariel is here. Yes. Frank, that is the Warlord. Big Nasty has the Warlord badge. Correct. So different tiers, different badges. First thing I want to say after the music here is, since we're talking about music, yesterday was the 40th anniversary of the release of one of the most important songs in pop music history. Donna Summer, I Feel Love.
Okay, I could agree with that. That song has been rated for so many loops over the years. It's amazing.
48 years. Can you believe it?
It's also, this is the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future.
Oh, wow. Giorgio Moroder, Pete Bellotte, Donna Summer reinvented what pop music and disco could be with synthesizers and drum. It's actually not a drum loop. I believe it's Keith Forsey playing live drums to that.
It might as well be. It's been sampled as a drum loop for so many times. It's not even funny.
Oh, Lead Paint. You don't think I'm going to not sing it to you. Let me spare everyone. New members. Hi, new members. We have Yellow Beanie Comics. Hi, if you're here. Cornell Q Weaver, which I hope and pray is your real name, Cornell, because that is kick-ass. Welcome. And Michael Jacobs. So let's talk about welcoming the new members. And Back to the Future had an amazing soundtrack, Richard.
Oh, it sure did. It sure did.
Your you don't get it, but your kids will. The stream is live. The old fart rule is in 85. I loves the 80s. Baron reminds us that Nins with Teeth was released in 2005, which was 20 years ago this past May. Baron, let me tell you, I still consider that a recent Nine Inch Nails record.
Yeah, Pretty Hate Machine still. I can still remember when that came out.
Yes. All right. We'll get to music. Frank, I see you. I see you in your wife gnashing your teeth at the screen. We'll get some music at the end so you can skip the music part. Jim Shooter.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's bring our guest on before we talk about this. You know him, you love him. We would love to refer to him as the show archivist. He is none other than Glenn Simpson from Glenn Simpson Comics, the channel on YouTube. Give yourself a plug real quick.
Yeah. You know, it's a passion project. It's just going through, I'm going through each box, and each video is a box, and you know, it's not for everybody. So far it hasn't been for very many, but be sure to you know, come by and stick, you know, if you're gonna make a sandwich, you know, you're eating a sandwich, you just want to look at some comics, go scrolling by while you're eating your sandwich, stop by and check me out.
Glenn, if Richard and I can offer you any advice, do it for you.
Yeah.
Don't do it for anyone else. That's what we did. And the first, I don't know, 90 days, Richard, I think we were like super pumped if 100 people watched.
Yeah.
And then, also, you know, I'm in IT now, but I was in marketing at one time. So it's like there's a little bit of fun in, well, what can I do to, you know, play around with internet marketing these days and you know, draw in viewers and that kind of thing. So like going on other people's podcasts and things and talking about it, you know, that's
just remember, subscribers is a vanity metric. It all comes down to views. We have plenty of other YouTubers that we see that have tens of thousands of subscribers, and yet their videos have less than 1,000 views. What's going on? By the way, you already got Tony coming over.
all right.
And Big Nasty does this. Big Nasty has a channel as well. Everyone, what's in the box?
Yeah.
Richard, Kevin wants you to thank Ray Parker for Huey.
Yeah. That's an ugly situation. Yeah.
Little lawsuit action there. Well, I brought Glenn on because we got to remember, I think it's fair to say, friend of the show, Jim Shooter.
Yeah.
Richard, you take it away.
Yeah. Okay. Jim Shooter started off really young. I believe he was 13 when he submitted his first story idea to DC, got it published in Adventure Comics, which I just can't imagine the level of just excitement he must have had to have that.
The audacity of youth. I'm gonna write a better story and send it in.
Right, and he wrote a number of stories there for Adventure Comics. When did he move to Marvel? When was his
76. He wrote for DC for a while. He got out of comics, and then he came back to DC to do Legion and a few other things. And then I believe Marv Wolfman lured him over to Marvel to be an assistant editor. 2 years later, he was editor-in-chief.
The man had stories after story. We interviewed him on the show, and he was just an endless fount of really cool, like I said, stories that he had. And this is a really personal person. I met him in person at one of the comic shows here in the area, and he was just as friendly as that. He was just launching into story again after story, selling his comics there in his booth. For my personal experience with him, his anecdotes were interesting, and he was a great person. I've heard though other impressions of him.
Complicated man seems to be the phrase everyone uses. Before I toss it to Glenn here, I do want to point out two things. After he was on the show, he sent us a really nice email saying how much he enjoyed it. And he honestly said, you guys asked really good questions. Anytime you want me to come back, you name the time. And I'm kicking myself that we didn't jump on it quicker, because I had a lot of Valiant, Defiant, and even Broadway comics questions. We didn't even get to scrape any of that. I am kind of proud that we are the interview that busted the Whitman reprint myth. And there was another, the Jack Kirby, how his sell-through was on circulation back then, how dismal it was. Still don't know how much truth is in that, honestly. But before, Glenn, I toss it to you, everybody say hi to new member Martin Ponce, who has made that's going on, and the Quasar Q is here. Yeah, Glenn, what do you think? What hit with your mind when you saw that?
Well, just now I just made the connection that, I mean, I know how important those early Adventure Comics Legion stories were to Richard, and so that was pretty much probably Jim Shooter making that happen. So he is the source of probably your love. Yeah, he the complicated person. He was the vision. He was the Kevin Feige of Marvel there for a while, and it sounds like he had some specific ideas about what how he thought things ought to go, and some that would always rock the boat sometimes with some other editors and things that wanted to do things differently. But you got to have somebody manning the ship, and he did it. And
you can't be buddies with if you're the boss, you can't be buddies with people. It will never work out. Paul Levitt's another friend of the show that's been on here for an interview. When in his memories, he wrote that Jim was really good on the creative end of things, not so good on the dealing with people admin end of things, which is a nice way of saying he pissed people off. Mm-hmm. And we've all had bosses that are like, it must be done this way, X, X, and X, or I won't be happy. But even Shooter points out, and other people like Frank Miller and Walt Simonson point out, they were allowed to break his rules as long as it worked. That was the key. He would have these rules, there was 6 or 9 panel grid, show everything in the medium shot, establish your shot, reintroduce the characters in every issue, and show their powers within the first 5 pages. But Frank Miller and Simonson, for 2 examples, broke those rules all the time because what they did worked. Mm-hmm. So, what does the number of crowns mean? Anyone? What are we talking about?
Number of people seeing crowns next to their name or something?
Maybe. All right. But R.I.P. Jim Shooter. We will miss him. I think it's a great loss. We didn't really say anything. He was looking really ill after our interview. Not that we had any knowledge of what was going on, but it was pretty obvious he was.
Yeah, I saw a picture the other day, and he was really gaunt.
Mm-hmm. That's a way to go, man. Esophageal cancer, it is not nice. As opposed to every other kind of cancer. But I got this week. And I read it. So this, right? Yep. Brace yourselves. Captain America Volume 85. I don't know. Oh,
I think it's like 12.
I bought one too.
Yeah. Did you read it?
Yes, I did.
You go first.
Yeah. Okay. So it takes place. It's a little fuzzy on how we got here. It takes place right after the towers were hit. So it must be 2001.
9/11, 2001.
Right. And it features not only Steve Rogers, but someone else who appears to also be Captain America. Anyway, Steve Rogers, he does what Steve Rogers does. He fights bad guys. Ends up being, I enjoyed that part of it. But he joins the military with Thunderbolt Ross as his boss. So I'm kind of curious. They're reforming the Howling Commandos. I'm curious to see what this book is going to be like. Is he just going to be a weapon in Thunderbolt Ross's arsenal? Are they forming a new team of super soldiers? Really curious to see where it goes.
All right, Glenn, have you read this?
I haven't got it yet. It's on the way.
Takes place. Literally, they say Chip Zdarsky, by the way, who I do trust and I do like, takes place a week after 9/11, Richard. They specifically say that they fished him out. The Avengers found him frozen 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's a week after 9/11 when this takes place. So it's a flashback, obviously. Why are we fixing Cap's revival at a fixed place in time in Marvel continuity? Have we learned nothing, you guys?
Yeah. Well, you know what ends up happening is they will say, oh, this happened a year ago, this happened, you know, this was a year ago, and then later on we'll just ignore it. So, you know, it's just for, but he's got to tell the story right now. So, you know, he's gonna tell the story he wants to tell right now.
I'm for everybody who's waiting for me to tear it apart, I'm not. I'm reserving judgment. Okay. I will say this did not hook me as immediately as the Straczynski first issue did, where I was like, boom, I'm in. This is great. And then I was sorely disappointed. So I'm hoping this is the inverse of that, where I'm sort of disappointed at the beginning and then it pays off as it goes on. Fingers crossed. I hate the new costume that he's in, which is an old costume. Why does he have to change his outfit to go? Well, I don't want to spoil it. Richard, I will say this much, not spoiling the plot. I thought Richard was going to explode when he read who he's going to fight.
Yeah.
He's going overseas to an Eastern European country. Let's say
yes.
Vaguely.
Issue 2 should be interesting. It should be interesting.
Shades of Frank Miller there.
The other Captain America that Richard's referring to, I believe it's the redheaded kid that's getting bullied and beaten. It's not Bucky Winter Soldier. That's my guess. It's interesting. I just really don't like futzing around with the timeline and saying, you know, Reed Richards and Ben Grimm were in the Korean War. Okay, now we're in 2025. Right. How can that possibly be without, you know, Nick Fury's Infinity Formula? Here we are again. It's fine now. In 20 years, in 2045, which, by the way, will be here before we know it, knock on wood, it's going to be a problem. So why would you even do that? It didn't even make sense in the story.
Yeah, I mean, my only problem would be that we usually, even though we're doing that, we usually kind of keep it within about a 15-year thing. So Peter gets bit at 15, and he's about 29, that kind of thing. So this is actually stretching it out a little further than I normally would.
You don't even need to. You know, it's comics. Let it be a funny book. You know, and I know half of you are screaming at your phone right now saying, yes, John, it's comics. Why are you this? I hear you. I hear you. I acknowledge you. But James is right. It's the sliding timeline yet again. When we haven't had to deal with it for a good couple of decades at this point, you know, why even introduce that? All right. 6 out of 10.
I could go with that. I'd go with that.
There's not a lot of story here. Not yet. It's a lot of buildup.
Right.
$5.99. I better have a story. I want a plot. I want a beginning, a middle, and an end, please.
Yeah, $5.99. This is crazy how much these books. This is a.
I think it's a double size though. I think it is extended.
It is a variant cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is double size. Black Cat's being advertised too.
I saw that, and I was going to bring that up and show you Adam cover. Any Diamond customers here that use Pullbox, RIP, gone. So here we go. Our buddy Nick Barucci at Dynamite suing Diamond or asking for the bankruptcy court to facilitate their payments because they can't make payroll because Diamond owes Dynamite $1 million. Quasar Q says, good Cap characterization, yes, but the plot has to be unconvinced. He does write a good Cap. It's Steve. He's heroic. To Richard, your point about him going back to the army, I do think that's in character. You know,
it's what he knows.
Yeah, it's what he knows. He's just out of the ice. I do think it really F's up the Avengers timeline, which Richard, we'll get to your other Avengers timeline F up in a second.
Oh yeah, I got that coming.
Because now Cap doesn't immediately join the Avengers as in Avengers 4. He's postponing joining the Avengers, which makes no sense to me. I don't know. Again, why are they doing that? All right. Frank's, if he was just fished out of the water, did he still freeze in the 40s? Yes. It's still World War II. instead of 30 years or instead of 20 years, now it's 50 years.
Right.
He jumps on the sliding timeline. It just keeps on sliding.
He's on sliding. It's like a water slide.
Nice.
Yeah. Richard, speaking of messing with the Avengers timeline, take it away.
Another book that came out this week is the Immortal Thor 25. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read this. Thor is dead.
Yep.
Not a little dead. Not he's preaching to the choir invisible at this point.
This time it's going to stick. I know it.
Yeah, of course it is.
Exactly.
Marvel is officially removing Thor from the continuity.
Well, they're saying they are.
Well, this is all ephemeral, right? I mean, it's the truth until it's not.
Yeah, James.
Yep.
So they're replacing Thor with Beta Ray Bill. So
In the Avengers. So Beta Ray Bill is now a founding Avenger.
He's a founding member of the Avengers, which is just, I love Beta Ray Bill.
Shades of Roy Thomas.
Comic Padre is rebooting next month as the Immortal Thor. No joke.
Yes,
the
it is.
Thor.
I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
Yeah, read it.
The cover's floating around. Yeah, it's the Immortal Thor. Yeah.
Yeah. Loki has something to do with it. This book was okay. I have not read the rest of the series. It was $5.99.
There was a really good issue, like 3 or 4 issues back, where the entire book it revolves around the flipping of a coin. And Thor and a couple of other characters are in like a maze, and they keep getting attacked. And it was almost like choose your own adventure. You could flip a coin on each page, and if it came up heads, you could go back a page, and it still made sense. Or you could go forward a page, and it would still make sense. I mean, Al Ewing just blew it away on that. It's incredible.
How funny.
It's going to be interesting too, because not only is Thor removed, but the entire pantheon of gods are removed. Sif is she's wondering, is Beta Ray going to remember her? Because all mortals, the Rainbow Bridge has been shattered. There's no connection with. It's interesting how they're going to keep going with the story after these changes.
He's pulling a reverse Sentry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you and Glenn will remember this, Richard, because remember when after the crisis, how they had to adjust the Justice League so Wonder Woman was no longer a founding member and it was Black Canary,
right?
And here we go again. I don't know.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, I mean, the history is porous with these comics, and it's like you say, it's comics, right? This is not like historical, and it doesn't need to be accurate historically. It just needs to tell a good story, and as long as it tells a good story, I can put up with some shenanigans.
Yeah, he has his secret identity again, which is Sigurd Carlson or whatever his name was in the Simonson run. Right. Hey, look at this. Shall we?
I have not seen this yet.
This is PSA's comic book and magazine grading pricing. Okay. So a modern is 20 on sale right now for $25.99, normally $29.99, which is $4 more than CGC.
Okay.
So they're coming out of the gate with a sale, undercutting CGC, or $2 more. I believe CGC is $27.99. So they're undercutting them by $2, but their regular price will be $2 more than CGC.
Well, and Automatic Comics was doing a video on this, and he kept going back to the fact that CGC gives members a discount. And so he was figuring that in, but then I was kind of wondering, but you don't know that PSA is not going to give discounts to members or something else.
They're not requiring memberships for PSA. That's another key.
Yeah.
So anyone can submit. You don't have to be a member, and you're saving that $150 off the top. So that's an interesting wrinkle that I read today. Vintage, $54.99 for Vintage Plus.
For $400 too. That's the cap.
Well, that's for 15 business day turnaround instead of 30. Okay, so that's like fast track. Got it. High value, $94.99.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Now,
high value is only $1,500.
yeah. And so it's Super Express walkthrough is 10K, premium 25K. So if you have a Marvel or Marvel Mystery Comics or something number 2, you're paying $4,000 to have this thing graded.
What about like a 2.0 AF-15, which is, let's say, 25,000?
You're looking at $1,000 to grade that book.
$1,000 to grade it.
And I'm sure for every day they go over 5, they take some percentage of that off, right?
Yeah. Sure.
There'll be an online coupon on Retail Me Not. Trust me.
Yeah.
This is funny because the turnaround times. How are they coming up with these turnaround times?
You're right. I mean, they have no historical data to work with. Hopes and prayers.
Yeah. How do they know they're going to get swamped day one? Ariel said it best. All this, and you get a boring red label on top. Frank, I believe those turnaround times. Maybe if they don't have any business, exactly.
No, that's true.
James is going to send his New York Comic Con Storm number 1 to PSA. All right, okay, let us know.
Yeah. All of those variants that are just the figure, just a portrait of the character. They might look good in that because they look like, as he says, like baseball cards.
Yeah. I saw that.
That's interesting.
I just don't know with those prices. I know CGC has some. As you get higher and higher in tiers, it can get expensive. But I don't remember it being that expensive.
This just any glimmer of interest I may have had just been completely squashed. Zero interest in PSA now. But that's me. I'm not slabbing anything anyway, so your mileage may vary from mine for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about differentiation, right? I mean, there's established leaders in the market, CGC and CBCS. You have to differentiate yourself and say, I offer something better than the leaders in the industry. And I don't think I'm struggling to see what is going to be their entree and why people would pick them over one of the other two.
Will they have a census?
That's a good question.
That will be revealing, because then we get to see how I'm using the Hulk 181 as the benchmark. How many Hulk 181s will be in PSA slabs at this time next year?
Oh, we can do a graph and show PSA versus CGC over time.
Don't make me do more analytics, Richard. I do it all day at work. James pointing out the UV protection. Okay. Is it protection or is it resistance? I think it's resistance.
Yeah.
At this point, I wouldn't trust anything. After that one guy that did all the testing.
Yeah.
There is some definition, some scientific definition rule. It's like non-fat or low fat. It's whatever. It's a definition that they're satisfying, but it doesn't really do what you need it to do. It's
another good benchmark, Baron, for sure. How many 300s end up in this slab? It's so brutally ugly. I mean, we were famously bitching about CBCS's label for years, and this one's like, hold my beer.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. And we still don't know if the size has been adjusted so they fit in, BCW slab box. If it doesn't, that's going to be a big problem.
We do not know. David Seegert, are you here? I measured, he DM'd me wanting me to measure a Golden Age slab for him because he's building a custom box of some sort. And He does not have any Golden Age books. So I DM'd you back, buddy. So check your DMs. You guys ready for show and tell? My first show and tell. Glenn disappeared. He's like, you know what? John just kept rambling on. James says he's just curious. He's happy with CBCS, but I really want to get the new product in my hands. I'm going to Comic-Con, and they're going to have a presence at Comic-Con, so I'll let you know. And Baron, you're right. We're all to blame for the grading industry monster that it is now.
You are right. And, But to our defense, there was money in them hills.
Yeah.
You could buy a raw comic, get it stabbed, and sell it for a significant profit pretty easily. The flipping books was a real thing. Nowadays, it's much more difficult.
You made it. All right. All right. You ready, Glenn? You ready for some show and tell?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to tie my first book in with my review of a TV show. This is Champions number 5 featuring Rampage. It is the 30-cent variant that I paid a whopping $4.99 for back in the day. Because
I kept trying to decide what they were alluding to there. And I guess that's the only Rampage I could think of.
Hercules. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about or what Glenn's referring to, I watched the first 3 episodes of Ironheart this week, and Rampage is in Ironheart. Of all the characters to bring into the MCU, they picked this, I don't know, Z-lister? Am I being kind?
The Wrecking Crew level character.
Oh no, Wrecking Crew's Tom Cruise compared to this guy. Kathy Griffin looks down on this guy. He's so D-list. This was Rampage is the villain that fights for the common man, and it's very timely. He's against corporations and oligarchs and billionaires, and he's fighting for the working class. And they kind of bring that into Ironheart a bit with, by the way, played by Eric Andre, which I went in completely not knowing who was going to be in this show, who wasn't. Frank is saying, don't watch it, skip. Now, wait, hold on. I went in out of obligation. I thought I kind of have to, I have to be informed. I have to have an opinion because of the podcast. We're talking about it. Richard's going to watch it. I'm going to need to bounce off him. I think I was 3/4 of the way through the first episode when I texted Richard in our little text group saying, this is actually really good, which, diminished expectations maybe.
Okay.
No spoilers, but a major character is introduced in the final episode. Someone spoiled it for me. Thanks, whoever that was.
Oh yeah.
Major, that's been speculated for years, actually appears. I will not talk about it here, and I will not answer any questions in the chat. You got to see it for yourself. Have either of you watched any of it yet?
I haven't.
I've got the first 3, and I've been spoiled on the bit on the 4th. Or the end. What
do you think?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a different view of things, and I'm just so caught up in what all of the people who don't like it are saying, and I'm like, no. But we gotta have that next generation, because RDJ is going to be doomed, so he's, we're not getting him back. So yeah, it's just, you got to be able to kind of appreciate other people's culture, and sometimes somebody's going to play some music that's not the music that you like, and you just kind of
hey, speaking of music in it, by the way, and music that you like, Rufus featuring Shaka Khan, Ain't Nobody, playing a major part of episode 2. We love that. Love that. It is now trending on Shazam, so lots of people are watching this show because I am working with this artist, and I've seen little bumps here and there on Shazam stats. I got an alert from Apple the other day saying, dude, your song's trending, bing, 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 and I've never gotten one in the 3 years I've worked with her. So people are watching this show, more people than we probably think.
Probably not comic people.
Yeah, and that's the other thing to remember is that what we think, we are a small percentage of the audience. That these things are made for, Karen and to sit and watch with her 2 kids, on a Friday night. So it's we shouldn't expect too much in a way, in terms of our source material and whatnot. they're making that's the right attitude to have.
Frank, have you watched it? This is addressed. This is absolutely addressed. She is not a likable character, or she's kind of likable. I mean, she's not a moral beacon of light like Steve Rogers. She does a few shady things, but it is addressed. So if it's such a turnoff, I would encourage you to keep going, because things happen in the first 3 episodes. People get hurt. She reacts in a way that is much more heroic than you think.
And that's kind of the heart of Marvel, really. I mean, it's the flaws, and at least she's not letting a robber get away who's going to get out and kill her uncle later.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people, these Marvel's filled with flawed heroes.
And I think that's how they differentiate from DC.
Yeah.
Frank, you are the master of your domain. I'm just saying.
We love you, Frank.
Yes, your concerns are addressed. I went in kind of like She-Hulk. Okay, whatever. And I ended up loving She-Hulk.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I love this yet. I would say it's better than Eternals. It's better than, I think it's better than
That bar you're setting real high.
I think it's better than Moon Knight. I think it's better than a lot of things that have. I don't know why it sat on the shelf for 3 years. That's my first reaction was, why? What was the problem here? It's well done.
At least it saw light of day. Poor Batgirl or Batwoman never came out.
I think it was good. I of course, they're tickling the back of my brain the first episode by bringing in a champions villain, for God's sake. So of course I'm like, Hank, I agree. If you guys are really on the fence, give it a shot. No one's gonna hate you or accuse you of being anything if you don't like it, if you truly don't like it. If you don't like it because of the demo, it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't make it for you. Just like, they didn't make Mr. Rogers for people that love the living dead.
Shania Twain is not my favorite artist, but if it's yours, I can respect your choice. Yeah.
Don't get him started.
Forrest, I have not. DD Comics fan here, Forrest.
Yeah.
Mutual
friend Forrest.
Exactly. What is the verdict on Daredevil Born Again? I was excited until I realized it was not Born Again. They were just calling it Born Again.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. They're pulling the names.
Yep.
But it was good. It was different than Ironheart. It was a lot of punching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
show.
Hank, that was the reaction I had when I watched it. What's everybody complaining about? Yeah, it was interesting. DD is good according to Frank. All right, so that's Richard. You gonna watch? What are you gonna watch?
Gonna watch? What do you mean?
Ironheart.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it this holiday weekend.
Okay.
I got to watch it with my wife. That's kind of how we do that. So
there'll be a test.
I got kind of pumped after about the first 30 minutes. I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna end up watching this whole thing. I was gonna give it 10 minutes, and it became 15, and it became 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged then.
That's probably a major barrier for a group of people our age to watch these things too, because we got to get time with our spouse, make sure that they want to watch. Right. Are you going to want to watch this, or is this something I should watch by myself?
Yes.
We have that conversation a lot.
They want to watch the first 2 episodes, and then they decided they don't tell you they're done with it. So anymore.
I put in my Sailor Moon time, so. All right, Richard, what's your first show and tell book?
My first book is, I saw there is a new Teen Titans Go series.
Oh, wow.
On the newsstand right now. This is the original series that the TV show was based on. Boy, getting a lot of glare there. I can't find it.
Oh, yeah. A new comic series?
Yeah, there's a new comic series. Well, it's been out for a while. As I saw issue 15, I believe, on the newsstands when I was at the LCS. which made me think of this book, which is the first issue of the adaptation of the TV show. TV show is great. My kids loved it, and I loved it as well. Both Teen Titans Go and just the Teen Titans animated show were both good for their own particular reasons. This was the silly one. If you like silly shows that are superhero based, do yourself a favor. If you haven't watched this show, go out and watch it because it is a really, really well done show.
Nice.
Yeah, as a a guy who's Wolfman Perez brought me in. Like when the first cartoon came out, I was like, ugh! And then I realized that they were getting money, they were getting serious money based on it. I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, and they do a really good job. The characters are really close. Only one I would say differs the most from the comic book is probably Changeling, when they call it Beast Boy. The rest of them are pretty. They're exaggerated. Their personalities are exaggerated, but the battle, not in this particular series, but in the original animated show, the battle with Trigon was really cool. And this one again is more cartoony and more lighthearted, but still a really, really fun TV show.
Beast Boy was his name originally in the Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, Glenn, what do you got? Where'd you bring? What's going on?
All right. So I found I this kind of struck me the other day, and I thought this might be kind of fun to do. And unfortunately, hopefully it won't take too long. But so we've got, the 1990s Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Right. Onto that.
And I just changed cameras, and now I had practiced and everything, and now I'm on a different camera, so I don't know what I'm doing. But and back in the old days when I used to do a lot of like databasing and things, I noticed that the inkers on the first 25 issues, the Valentino does the actual, pencils on the covers, but the inkers are like a who's who of Marvel at that time. So bear with me. In the spirit of Glenn Simpson's comics, we're going to roll through this real quick. So we got, I have it written down over here. Issue 2, Mike Zeck on inks. Issue 3, Mike Manley on inks. Glare. Wow. Issue 4, Scott Williams, largely known for working on Jim Lee. Issue 5, Todd McFarlane on inks. Valentino. Wow. Issue 6, your buddy Joe Rubenstein.
So polite
on inks. Okay, more towards the middle, Glenn. Issue 7, George Perez on inks. You can kind of see that. On Mephisto, who nobody has been talking about Mephisto in this podcast so far. Issue 8, Steve Lytle on cover inks. Issue 9, Rob Liefeld on cover inks.
Wow.
Issue 10, Jim Lee on cover inks. Issue 11, Bob Wyacek on cover inks. Not all hot stars, but they're all different. 12, Art Thibert.
T-Bear.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Comic book nerds saying things for the first time out loud.
Yes.
Issue 13, Steve Montano,
who ends up on a long run on that book.
Yeah, I think he wound up becoming eventually the regular. Let's see, 14, Javier Saltares. I did that one better.
They saw Ghost Rider and said, let's get the guy that draws Ghost Rider to ink it. 15, Jim Starlin, which I think this little guy was some sort of, Marvel knockoff kind of thing. I think Warlock.
Yeah, or Warlock, yeah. 16, Randy Emberlin on that.
Larson's inker on Spider-Man.
17, Al Williamson.
Classic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
18, Tom Morgan.
Not so classic.
19, Eric Larson, your buddy.
Yeah.
Look at Eric, that faux Kirby inking.
Redrawing a lot of Valentino there, I see.
20, Danny Bulanati.
Yep.
T-Bear. 21, Dan Panosian.
Yep.
All right. 22, your buddy Al Milgram.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Getting there. 23, Mark Texiera.
You can tell.
Yeah, that one jumps out at you. That's like a Jerry Ordway kind of thing. 24, Ron Lim doing some Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
And 25, Hillary Barta, who, I know the name.
Yep.
But couldn't tell you, the background. And then it picked somebody else, like Montano comes back and that kind
And
of
that's a Prism cover. Prism.
Oh, yeah. That is the most 90s cover that ever 90s.
Wow, that is really cool to pick different inkers for every issue.
Now, part of me is like, oh, it's cool, and part of me is like, did the editor do that because Valentino is not the most solid superhero?
Marketable.
Yeah. And so we got to market this book in some way. Hold up issue 1 again for me.
Okay. Yeah.
The cover to issue 1 is colored by a guy named John Stracuzzi, who used to color a lot of George Perez's covers in a colored pencil. I sat and watched him color that cover because he was the owner of the comic shop that I worked at in Monterey, California.
Oh, wow.
I know that name from the Champions role-playing game work that George Perez did. I know I saw his
John Stracuzzi.
That, yeah.
He was George's colorist of choice for until Malibu came along and computer coloring said, John, you're retired. So yeah, that's a weirdly entertaining run of Guardians of the Galaxy. Have you ever read that run, either of you?
I haven't.
Oh yeah, it's it's Marvel's Legion. It's the future of the Marvel universe and who's still around and whose kids are and whose descendants, and there's an entire planet of dudes that have Stark armor and called the Stark because they don't remember where they got it from. They just know they're supposed to be the Stark, something like that. So yeah.
I remember being confused / frustrated that Vance Astrovic didn't meet Vance Astrovic in New Warriors. Why was there not a crossover until New Warriors almost canceled? Because they're the same guy. One's in the future. But yeah, interesting run. There was a reason Jim Valentino was picked by Larson and Liefeld to come over to Image.
Yeah, you figure some of those connections got made there.
Yeah, that book was a hot book for Marvel. I mean, it was a top 10 book when it came out. Mr. Normal Man doing a top 10 Marvel comic?
Yeah.
Is Dave Sim going to do one next?
Before you switch, someone asked a question of Glenn about his color coding.
Random. Literally just wanted it to be pretty. So, but scientifically random, an Excel spreadsheet that generated a random number that correlated with a color each time I completed a box last time. Nerds!
I feel better. You said random. I thought,
unless it was like 2 in a row the same color, then you gotta roll again. You can't.
I love being a nerd so much. I mean,
I made a good living off of being a nerd. I cannot complain.
I tell like they're all older now, but when my nephews and nieces were younger, they were a little nerdy. I was like, you're going to end up ruling the world, right? You're not peaking now. Don't worry. You don't want to peak now. Don't peak now. Peak later. Hank is right. The Guardians were just missing flight rings, and they're the Legion. Captain America #1, you say? A new one? Let's go back to the classics. What do you say?
Well, the dust off of
that. Captain America Comics #10, the last Simon and Kirby issue. That is a Jack Kirby cover. It is a 1.5, slightly brittle, but it's mine. I traded a 8.5 Silver Surfer #4 for this California Comic-Con. Richard was there watching me trade away while he was taking slabs out of a stroller, literally taking slabs from a baby.
You were so excited when you got that.
I still am. it's something I never thought I would have one of the first 10 issues of Captain America, you know, from the creators. And I do. And it's a blue, it's split down the middle, the spine. I don't care. It, I think I've shown this before. That top staple is attached. I don't care what you say. It's attached. It looks attached. And I don't see the split. Ever since I've had this book, I've been tempted to crack it open and see what's doing. And then the other half of me is like, hey, if it's split, they got it in here perfectly. Don't mess with it.
Yeah, even if you got it regraded and it came out a 2.5, what difference does it make? Are you planning on ever selling it, or is this a permanent part of your collection? In that case, the grade really is unimportant. It's the protection you have from the case.
My baby. This is the Hotel of Horror, and there's the register. And look, he's writing Bucky's name. La, la, la. Okay. We'll check Bucky.
Edging into that Captain America tales where it's just going to be weird stories that don't actually have anything to do with Captain America.
They're just 64 issues away.
Oh.
Bucky in bondage. It's not a Doll Man bondage cover, but it's close. I would have made that trade in a second. A little Golden Age, exactly. Thank you, Tony. You know, Comic Padre, part of me doesn't want to. I understand that. Thank you, Martin. I don't show this enough, so I that's why I brought it out today, because in celebration of of Captain America issue, by the way, issue number 772.
Yeah.
According to the legacy number.
Legacy number there.
Yeah. Which, you know, just 762 away from this one.
700. Jeez.
Technically, no, because it was Tales of Suspense. All right, Richard. See, I told you I love being a nerd. Richard.
Yeah, another book I've seen heat up, and I'm not exactly sure why. There's been rumors about this book, about this being a movie. Something's Killing the Children. It's a great story. I don't know if people have read it. It's been out. When did this come out? 2019. Hopefully you've read it.
6 years.
It has. Isn't that amazing? It's hard to wrap my brain around it. This has to be one of the most goriest titles. When you have piles of, it's just some incredibly violent imagery, but for somehow they've written the story and they put the artwork in a way that you see it, but it doesn't affect you as if, you know, it's part of the feel of the story, but it doesn't overwhelm you so that's all you think about. It's like making a comic book about Auschwitz, right? I mean, there's so much going on there that would be difficult to deal with, but somehow they managed to shift the focus from that horror that's there to the characters. And
like Mouse.
Yes, just like Mouse. Mouse focuses on the father and his struggles, and the rest of it kind of becomes part of the background. It's just a great book. They're talking about making this into a movie. It's been optioned for years.
Netflix series,
yeah. And I'm wondering if that's finally happening. I would find it difficult to see how someone could take that violence that's in this book in 2025 and turn it into something that you're going to put on the screen.
I think it might be the perfect time. By the way, we lost Glenn again, and before he disappeared, he was typing. Here he is. He's coming back. Let's see if that's him here. You disappeared, and that's what you were typing when you disappeared. Something. Uh-oh.
I think we may have
frozen.
Yeah, I thought it would be a good idea to try to say, did something happen? And then you know,
Baird read the first 12. It's a great read indeed. Very nice, Richard. And Hank says it's a true COVID standout.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's one of the reasons I bought it. I know I'm not a horror kind of guy, but you know, it was COVID.
Yep. Boy, I wouldn't say I miss those days. I miss the prices that we were getting for stuff those days. All right, Glenn, what do you got?
All right. So yes, and you know, this is the kind of professionalism that you'll see at Glenn Simpson Comics.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Maybe it'll work. Who knows?
Smash that like button.
So we were don't smash too hard though. So you know, we often talk about the Atlas.
Oh yeah,
Atlas 70s Atlas. So, and I mentioned this, you know, in a quote about there seemed to be something weird about the ownership because you got this guy right here, you know, Demon Hunter.
You mean Devil Slayer?
You mean Devil Slayer?
Exactly.
Yeah. David Anthony Kraft 3 years later, you know, bringing Devil Slayer, Demon Killer, Damon Devil Killing Devils, Cape Man, or Cape Man as Hulk calls him, Cape Man. We hate Cape Man. So yeah, I mean, let no good idea go to waste. Although now looking at it again, they're not quite. I mean, they're obviously the same guy, but they weren't quite as. You know, I was remembering the costumes a lot closer. Yeah.
But Demon Hunter has that great Skull cover. If you collect Skull comics,
yeah,
that's an easy one to get.
It's so funny, yeah, how Martin Goodman just looked at Marvel's roster and said, "Okay, they've got Son of Satan. We need a Demon Hunter. They've got Sergeant Fury. We need Sergeant Stryker." Don't ask me where Police Action featuring Lomax came from, but you were saying something about the ownership of the Atlas stuff.
Well, just the fact that, you know, he, you know, why was he able to create a, you know, such a utter and complete copy of his previous character 3 years later at another company? Did he own something? Did he own it? Did he just
I don't know. Here's my copy of Marvel Premiere with Dominic Fortune.
The Phoenix. The Scorpion, yes.
Yes. By the way, if I'm not plugging this podcast enough, Marvel by the Month. Say it with me, everyone. Marvel by the Month podcast. They had Howard Chaykin on this week. I gotta get Chaykin on the show, Richard.
I love that.
Oh my God, hilarious, foul mouth, doesn't give a flying crap about what he says and who he says it about. He talks about Atlas Comics doing Scorpion and how they wanted him to make these changes, and he said, F you. And then he walked over to Marvel and said, "Hey, do you mind if I do the Scorpion over here? I'm going to just change his name. Everything else will stay the same." They're like, "Sure." That's how loosey-goosey it was. A part of the Atlas stuff is they were offered part ownership of their properties. It's always been super unclear, kind of like the Ultraverse, how much ownership.
He did change the name. I mean, he didn't just bring the character over, but
exactly. And Hank rightly so points out another character, Mantis, that Steve Englehart brought over to Eclipse and a Coyote and everywhere he went. What was it? DC? What was Mantis?
There was just an arc in Justice League, and this is kind of before my time, but I've heard about this, that, you know, has this mysterious green woman who is you know, central to the plot, and it's a very much a Mantis-like entity, and it's of course Steve Englehart doing it in both places. Some creators just get such a, pardon my French, get such a hard on for some of their creations. If Steve Englehart brought Mantis back in his Fantastic Four run, West Coast Avengers, it's like, dude, no one's that into her. Is anyone into Mantis?
She got into the MCU.
Yeah. Now Richard would go nuts for Walt Simonson. I'd actually be more excited about Louise Simonson.
Wheezy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either Chaykin or Walt. I would just be in just sheer awe. Louise is amazing too, but not the to the level, at least that I feel that Walt is. I mean, my next book, for example.
Oh, keep in mind, Louise was editing X-Men during Claremont and Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
She was the editor, so she's probably going to have a lot of insight. I would love to get them on. I'd love to get Ann Nesenti is also one that we've been chasing for a little bit, doing an email tag with. I just want to praise Ann Nesenti for about 20 minutes to her face. To another person that just didn't realize what she was doing when she took over Daredevil after probably the most iconic run ever on the character from Frank Miller. She had no clue. She wasn't a comic book person. She's like, I don't care who was writing it before me. I'll do it. Whereas everyone.
The funny thing about Ann Nesenti to me was the first thing I ever read of hers was Longshot. And so and Longshot had this particular tone to it. And so I thought that was just Longshot's tone. And then I read some Ann Nesenti. Didn't know she writes everything like that.
Yeah. And her Spider-Woman, she did the last 4 issues of Spider-Woman. It was very strange. She has a very, very singular voice in comics. Her Kid Eternity, I'm probably the only person that read Ann Nesenti's Kid Eternity series.
I have issue 1, and then yeah.
Well, speaking of Louise Jones at the time before she got married and being the editor of the X-Men under Claremont and Byrne, it's X-Men Annual number 4 from 1980 by Claremont and Brett Anderson. Sorry, no Byrne on the Annual. Byrne had just left or was getting ready to leave, I think. This takes place between X-Men 138, when Cyclops leaves, and 139. You get the somewhat secret origin of Nightcrawler. Remember when you could pick up an X-Men book and there'd be a focus on Nightcrawler? Nightcrawler, Claremont writing Doctor Strange at the same time. So, of course, he's going to work Mr. Stephen Strange into his X-Men continuity. This was the actual first issue of X-Men ever without Scott Summers.
I did not.
Also the last X-Men Annual.
What's that?
The next issue would be Uncanny X-Men.
Correct. This also has a letters page in it, which was a rarity for an annual to have letters page, because they got so many letters about the death of Phoenix that they ran more letters in the annual. The letters are hysterical. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I will never read another X-Men comic again.
We never changed.
Yep. You know, nerd outrage has always been a thing. It's nothing new. From Jerry Conway can tell you about death threats when he killed Gwen Stacy. Richard, you're up.
Yeah, I was just going to highlight my Thor. This is Thor 337, first appearance of Beta Ray Bill. It's one of the, I don't have very many signature books in my collection. That for the most part, I don't like people scrawling on my comics. But you got Walt's trademark dinosaur.
His signature is art. You know?
Yeah.
Come on.
I absolutely love that. This is great. This cover also was it was innovative back then. There are other covers that do damage to the trade dress of some X-Men comics, for example, but I don't remember other comics with that destructive energy going towards the corner box like that.
Yeah, not the corner box. Yeah. Neil Adams destroyed the X-Men logo in the 60s. Phoenix did the same in a homage. By the way, that's how you do an homage, people. You don't trace it.
Yeah. You just change the background.
Someone in the comments was defending the Spider-Man homage ripoff by saying he said after JRJR in the signature, so it's okay. Hank, I have some bad news about her dad too. All right, you are up, Glenn.
So here's one. I have been kind of replacing a few of my just readiest books And so here's a book that you'll appreciate there, John.
I sure am.
Invaders 32. But the weird thing is I have never seen that before. Sorry, my phone. This is my phone ringing. The kind of professionalism you get from comic.
I want ice cream now.
Subscribe. Yeah. What's going on with the UPC?
It's got J3508
How
stamped
weird
on it.
Huh.
Any idea what that's from? Wow.
I'm supposed to know this stuff, and I don't know. I don't, it seems to be, it's on there really good, like it was printed at the shop, or printed at the publisher, so or the printer. So I have the rare J3508 variant. I'll take 500 grand if anybody's
that's hold that up. You got Jack Kirby, Thor, Hitler, Union Jack. I mean, it's got it all.
That's Beta Ray Bill, though. Now
it is Beta Ray. They're going to go back and make you change all of Kirby's art to be Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, he needs to have a horse face.
Could you imagine if Jack had drawn Beta Ray Bill? I would love to have seen that.
Do you remember? I think it was that little revitalization of Journey into Mystery, and it was Sif and Beta Ray Bill, and they had the quote on the front that was, somebody apparently they were talking about how Sif and Beta Ray Bill were in love, and one of the, I guess, like assistant editors said, "How does that work? He's a horse," and they literally printed that on the cover. How does that work? He's a horse, and put her name underneath.
Who was the queen that supposedly died after relations with a horse?
Oh my God!
I can't. My history is blanking me. Sorry.
Talk about bad decisions.
Yeah. I have a DC book. Get excited!
Woohoo!
It is Strange Adventure.
Oh, by the way, thanks. I don't know if Evan's here. Thank you, Evan, for switching with me.
Yeah, he's not. He's so angry. He's decided not to.
He's doing the family thing tonight.
Yeah. Strange Adventures 180. The man with the animal powers, aka Buddy Blank. No, Buddy Baker. Sorry, Buddy Blank is open. Yeah, this is the first appearance of Animal Man.
What are those? What they see someone running and swimming, and
that's him. He has he can spring like a tiger, swim like a sea lion. He's strong as a gorilla. Was I good enough to stop this living nightmare? Hey, you know what? I'm going to come back in a few issues with a really poorly designed orange and blue costume.
Well, I got the impression that he was kind of like Ant-Man. Let's just tell a weird story about something weird happening to a guy, and then realize later, oh, we can make him a superhero. Let's bring him back and put him in a costume.
For some reason, this issue sold better than the other ones surrounding it, so bring the guy back. Yeah. What is going on with the crowns in the chat? Are the badges like all messed up? Everybody's doing crowns. Tony, it is a tough booking grade. It looks okay through a stream. It's like a 5.0 though. It's pretty rough.
That black cover is tough.
Yeah. And just nobody collected Strange Adventures. So again, dollar bin fodder for years and years and years. Richard.
Last book I brought, I've shown before, but I wanted a good girl art book. This is Jungle Comics number 78.
Hello.
Yeah. This is a really, I just like the way this comic is posed. Who's the artist on this one? Joe Doolin did the cover here. 1946. I would have loved to seen this on the newsstand. Obviously, it looks like it's faded. I haven't seen very many copies of this to be able to compare. But
it does like some of the either is a bad red plate or the red, because the reds wouldn't fade by themselves because everything else looks like it hasn't faded.
And the back looks really good. Here's There's Sheena,
Oh,
Queen of the
which-
Jungle.
yeah, that well,
Well, yeah, but they would be on the same plate, so maybe it is faded on the front.
Yeah.
Because that red would be on the same plate because it's flat. When they print it,
right.
cover.
That's some kind of bikini that you're. I didn't realize they had bikinis like that back in 1946.
Hold on, let me bring you back up on the screen.
They did, but they were harlots.
She wore an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini.
That's true. But yeah, it's in my collection of good girl bar. I have a lot of good girl art bondage stuff.
James, that XP counter is whenever you guys do a super chat and give us money, you win special prizes like gold bars.
This TikTok all of a sudden.
That's not true. Glenn, what do you got?
All right. So I don't have it yet because again, discount. I get 1 box a month from Discount Comic Book Service, which you can see me unbox at Glenn Simpson's Comics. But I'm anxiously awaiting my copy of the New History of the DC Universe. And I've kind of taken in as much, YouTube, and it's been utterly. I've probably seen every page of it by now. And so what I pulled out is Last Days of the Justice Society. So this was originally published shortly after the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Mm-hmm.
And it was DC's way of kind of saying, okay, let's just get rid of these old farts and not have them around anymore. So we're after the Crisis, we're years into the years of the superheroes being around, and they go to Ragnarok and they fight the return, keep Surtur, as we know from Thor, from coming and destroying the Earth, and they're going to fight him constantly all the time, and that's their heroic, end and whatnot. And my understanding is that in the new history of the DC universe, they've moved this back, this event back to like the 50s.
9/11?
No, yeah. No, to the 50s, and that is where they are going to have gone to later come back and not be any older. That getting them on the like Cap on the Ice. That's going to put them on the sliding timeline. Now, I don't think we know enough details about that because what about the spouses and all that. But anyway, but yeah, that's where that storyline originally comes from, is Last Days of the Justice Society.
The cover, first of all, reminds me of Cancel Comic Cavalcade.
Yeah,
all the dead.
Power Girl's like, oh
no! They're all David Ross. I mean, God bless anybody.
God bless him.
God bless
Canada.
Just one of the. He's Don Heck level with me because they would always put him on books that I read. And I'm like, can you not have David Ross on this book, please? It's not bad. It's just he's almost like too good of an artist to be a comic book artist. I like really stylized action Kirby Larson. Where's my fist? Where David Ross is like, I can draw a chair better than anyone else. Great.
And come to notice, Mike Gustovich is doing the inks here, who I think falls into that same. His eyes are too close together. I don't know. It's just something.
I couldn't read Justice Machine because Gustovich is like, I don't ink with a brush. I ink with a cotton ball and just blob the ink on. I'm such a bitch. Speed Carter Spaceman number 5. Oh, it's cold.
Yes, you can see the icicles on the planet.
How about my ladder in space, Richard?
Oh.
Do you like that? I'm hanging from the logo. See, there's little spaceships zapping the planets and freezing them, and these guys are trying to, I don't know, stop that. Speed Carter.
Perspective is
which one's Speed?
The size of a continent.
I'm going to guess that's Speed in the front by Joe Maneely because he's in the focus there. But Frank is rightly so. Dripping ice in space. Which way's up? Which way's down? there's no up or down in space. So this is actually how the cover can look as well. I like this. I got this cheap. I really wish
that's the direction the planet is moving in, and it's trailing.
I just wish whoever sold this to me or whoever did this, I wish they didn't press the book themselves.
Oh, is that?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
That, my friends, is an indented staple from too much pressure and not enough centerfold support. Always put at least one backing board in the center of your book before you press it to protect the staple. Sometimes you need more than one. In this case, squish.
Yeah. I've put two, one on each side of the staple just to support it.
Yeah, and then you get those books like Ultimate Fallout 4, where they were using super extra big staples for some reason at that time at Marvel, and you need to place 65-pound paper on either side of the staples, and underneath the digital sticker inside as well, as Richard can tell you from pressing an indentation into his book. Was it you that did that, or was it Forrest?
It wasn't my UF4. I've done it before for other books.
It was me, but you didn't know that.
How dare you? Thank you, Hank. I am trying my best to teach people. All right, Richard, what do you got? You know?
Okay. The only other book I have is another Thor book, because you talk about Beta Ray Bill. You also talk about the Stormbreaker and its foundation. Thor Odin created it specifically for Bill, but I guess in most recent times, Beta Ray Bill has this hammer's been destroyed, and he's been wielding a sword, which I find kind of strange. But yeah, this is 339. There's three primary books about his origin story, and it's the 337, 338, and 339.
Catherine the Great.
Catherine the Great. Oh, really? Ooh, that's a painful thing.
That's who died after sleeping with Beta Ray Bill, because she was not an Asgardian like Sif. She can't handle it.
Thor with a sword just reminds me of that episode of Arrow when he loses his bow and he rolls over and grabs a gun and goes, and everybody looks at him and he's like, "I never said I couldn't use a gun."
Hank has a shameful number of copies of 339.
Yeah,
that's the first Stormbringer.
Yes, it gets created. You see there, Odin is creating it. The Stormbreaker. I'm sorry if I got
Stormbreaker, one of the two.
Breaker. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Then you got another one?
Yeah. So I had pretty much, this is more about the story than the book. I had pretty much, written off Mile High as just being, they're just too expensive and I'm not going to fool with them. But I was, I can't listen to the news in the morning anymore. And so now I listen to old Bronze and Modern Gods episodes. So I was listening to the Chuck Rosinski episodes, owner of Mile High. And I was really surprised and quite pleasantly about some of the things I learned about him. And it really one thing that clicked is, because I'm getting tired of the hunt. I just want to find what I want and get it. And Mile High, that's their thing, is, we theoretically have it. We're going to charge you more, but we have it. And so, but what also clicked is that we may have it in what I interpreted as, we may have it in a crappy enough grade that Glenn can afford it. And so, I started looking, and, just one that I found was this Static 33. Because I'm trying to complete my static run, which is turning out to be quite the endeavor dollar-wise. I don't know if I'll ever. Hopefully, I can find an incomplete final issue or something at some point.
When they go to that logo, they get harder to find.
Yeah, but I got this for with the sale they had going on at the time. I got it. It was. They called it a very good. I got it for $20. Got it home. Thought that was kind of a harsh grade. I pressed it, and I call it a very fine, at least at this point. Awesome. So, I'm happy with it. So, I'm kind of giving them another chance. You just got to make sure you have the code, the monthly, discount code, to get the price back down to something reasonable. But the at 60% 12 times. Yeah, you know, I don't know, but you know, it was going to be too expensive anyway. So you know that too, if it's too expensive, it's here. It's going to be expensive there. You know,
It's really touch and go with them because mutual friend Forrest, aka DD Comics fan, was at the store, the physical store, and found a copy of Bugs Bunny Summer Vacation Funnies for me, the first appearance of Roadrunner, for $14, and it was a decent VF. No, fine, more fine. So it depends, you know. It's weird. Richard, you look like you're saying something, but you're not. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I went on mute because I was coughing. I was saying my problem with Mile High, you know, no offense to Chuck, is their website is just difficult to navigate.
yeah.
So trying to
You
find
leave- You leave.
Yeah, you gotta think. This is the title. Now, might somebody think the title was?
You leave Angel Fire websites alone.
Because you know I'm a stickler. You know, it's like, where's Incredible Hulk versus Venom? Oh, it's just called Hulk versus Venom in their system. You know?
The same thing with GPA. That's why whenever I look something up and I find it on GPA, I add it to my favorites, so I never have to look for it again.
Uncanny X-Men and X-Men they're almost impossible to search for on GPA.
Yeah. You know what else is impossible to search for on GPA because of the name of the company? Harvey by Marvel Comics. No, not Harvey Comics. Harvey from Marvel Comics. This is Harvey number 2. I've shown my Harvey number 1 before. Richard, hello.
Yeah, that's nice. I've never collected Harvey.
6 issues. Obviously an attempt to take some of that sweet Archie money. In the early 70s, probably one of the best-selling comics period were the Archie titles, closely followed by Richie Rich, who at one point, Glenn, you might want to fact check me here. Richie Rich had 38 simultaneous different titles.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me.
There were
Richie Rich's bathroom, Richie Rich's, Richie Rich's mortgage statement. Yeah, it was
Richie Rich's bidet. This is I can't believe Harvey actually volunteered to paint the fence. What's he painting with? Oh, okay, it's just white paint. Okay, got it. Yeah. He is painting a horrible green fence white, and for some reason there is a giant woman on the other side of the fence.
Perspective.
Not quite in perspective, the correct perspective here. I'm not sure why she's drawn to be 19 feet tall compared to Harvey, but okay.
She's a Hannah Whitingham.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, where else are you going to see a Harvey comic that's not Casper?
Yeah. Speaking of Archie, there was an Archie comic when I was at LCS, where Archie Andrews is a superhero called Mr.
Pureheart. Oh, the Mr. There was Pureheart the Powerful in the 60s.
Right.
Yeah.
And
this was a golden age superhero character from the publisher of Archie.
Okay. This was, it felt a lot like Riverdale in terms of it was kind of a more edgy, kind of young teen kind of vibe to it. I didn't buy it because that's just not me. And it's just strange to see an Archie comic on the newsstand that was not an Archie comic.
Oh, just wait until Afterlife with Mr. Justice gets married.
The reboot of Riverdale.
Yeah, on the Instagram, I have a picture. I was at the grocery store, and I can't help myself. When I'm at the grocery store, I have to go to the magazine rack and see which digests they have, just to see if they're just clinging to life. And there was a new Archie digest, and I flipped it over, and on the back was an ad for a movie called The Archies, which is now streaming on Netflix. and it's apparently a Bollywood production, an all Indian production of the Archies musical, complete exactly. That was filmed in 2023 and released on Netflix in 2023. And I posted it and I said, "What? Did anybody have any clue?" And for some reason, they were advertising it on the back of the this month's digest. And I turned the digest to make sure
embracing it.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure it wasn't like a 2-year-old digest that was still sitting on the shelf. It's like, no, it's brand new. Why are they advertising a movie from 2 years ago? Has anybody seen this Bollywood Archies?
No, I have not. Bollywood movies are
Other than your post, no.
Yeah, it could be so interesting.
I kind of want to see it. Hank, did you know it's from India? Did you see it? You know, I've just sugar, honey, honey,
Ching ching.
exactly, ding ding ding, shang-a-lang lang lang. By the way, Archies, man,
we are veering into racist territory.
I know. The Archies, though, there are some bangers. Not just sugar, bang shang-a-lang. What was the jingle jangle? There are some jams because it's Andy Kim and who was the other vocalist for the Archies? He's famous. But the guy that wrote and sang "Rock Me Gently, Rock Me Slowly," he was the writer for the Archies.
Did he do Josie and the Pussycats too?
No, that was the Hanna-Barbera staff doing that, I believe. The musical people they had on staff, but Ron Dante, he is the voice of the Archies. Ron Dante. But if you ever get like you're stuck and you want something to listen to and you don't want to think about it too much, just put on the best of the Archies on Spotify. You'll be like, take that. Don Kirshner said, "Take that, monkeys. They don't argue with me." All right. That's it. Frank, I saved the Archies music talk to the end for you. Everybody say thank you to Glenn once again.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks for having me.
Next week we have Evan joining us, so lots of DC happening. And the week after that, Vexer 4000 will be here. I need guests after that, so in 2 weeks, I have open slots. Anybody wants to be on, please. Quasar Q, you need to come on and show some Quasar books.
We sure do.
Frank, we'd always want to have you. Tony, Hank, you want to come back? Hank's always raring to go. He's like, Evan, get me in there, coach. And some new blood in there. Martin, if you want to join us sometime. Yeah. Yellow Beanie. Let me know on Instagram. Just DM me. Richard, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful holiday. Here in the States is 4th of July weekend. So I want to say specifically on this weekend, stay safe.
Row the firework.
Row
the firework.
Usually this is when I hit the end stream. Richard says stay safe, and I give you a little salute, and we get out of here. Did you see the fireworks warehouse blow up in Northern California?
No, did not.
Yeah.
It looked
Boom.
like it looked like a mushroom cloud. It was crazy. All right. Now say it again, Richard.
Everybody stay safe. Bye.